can you be what we'll call ultra religious, ultra pro God, and not be against science? Can't you be pro science and pro God? Is it only an extremist when it comes to religion that would be against science because it conflicts with some of the things that are written in the Bible or the Quran or whatever other book you might choose?
I think there's been an attempt to mix the two, right? As far as people trying to figure out whether or not they can make those two things come together so that you can have some common sense conversations versus some stuff that, you know, you can't reconcile when you hear it. And I think that that's what people are trying to do today. I think that's what's happening today. People are trying to figure out a way to bring science and religion together. You have any examples of what you could point to say, hey, you know, this is science, this is religion, this is how they come together.
Okay. The only thing, and it was a battle for me, that if you believed in science, as a very broad and general statement, it was very difficult for a person like me to accept religion and things that people say God said. However, for me, faith, the term faith, the word faith, in what we're going to just use as a term, a superior life force. I wouldn't even say a superior being. Faith has nothing to do with science. Zero.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Faith is within, and it should not have to be a conflict with what science is, which is a gathering of facts.
The only problem is that people try to turn faith into truth.
Well, that's the problem. They try to turn faith into science.
Yeah,
it isn't
and
science,
facts, right? They try to make it, you know, fact, because they develop a belief system that works for them, and in turn, they try to make that thing factual. And it's an individual's pursuit, right, of whatever that information is, or the feeling, or the knowledge, or whatever. I think that's an individual's pursuit. And then people will try to make that thing everyone else's, in a way. As an example, you look at Noah's Ark, and
you're making me smile, right?
Because your immediate reaction is, yeah, that's an interesting story.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yes, that they got every single animal that's on Earth on that one little wooden boat. Of course, I'm being facetious then.
No,
but
that's
what the story said.
That's
what the story said, and it took no time to create that flood. And I've heard different people offer scientific-like explanations, and for the parting of the Red Sea, my people made that one up. Parted the Red Sea. It was low tide.
It was no tide, first of all. And then
No tide.
My question though is, and this is something that I think we should all embrace. What I'm about to say is, I think we should all embrace, if we believe that story, then we're all related, right?
If we believe the story of Noah's Ark, then we're all related.
Yeah, we're all family. Everybody's family after that.
Well, but aren't we? We really are.
Yeah.
We are.
No, I'm saying, like, if you have a flood, and this is rudimentary thinking, that's all I'm capable of doing right now when it comes to these stories, because I'm no scholar, I'm just I'm on the surface.
You're not looking at one either, I assure you.
I'm just on the surface with what I think I'm hearing. And you create a flood, kill everyone except for Noah's family and animals. Then what's left on earth is Noah's family after the flood and animals.
Right.
So we are all related to Noah.
According to that story, yes.
We are all one family after that as human beings.
How can you argue that? If you take the story at face value, yes, there's no other explanation.
Yeah, and so then the gymnastics start, right? All the mental gymnastics, they come in after you say that to someone. Because that's just fifth grade information, right? Like, oh, you must be related to my uncle after that,
It's first day of Sunday school, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the people who are much more learned than I am, then they have to come to me and give me an explanation that's based on some serious mental gymnastics, right? Because I don't know where you go after that. Where do you go if you get rid of everybody except for all the animals in one family, and then after that you repopulate the earth?
Yeah.
Then they came from that family, the people after that.
Right, so every single person is related
For sure.
to the Noah family.
Right. So if we're related to their family, we're all family.
And as I said, but aren't we?
No, I think we are too. Just as, Homo sapiens, right? We're just all one big, family of people.
So the adding religion to the biblical stories, and I guess every religion has its biblical stories, and there's a lot of similarities to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Immaculate conceptions, these things that we know to be essentially impossible, and this of course creates the story to be bigger. But the biggest problem I have with any of that, it's perpetuated through fear.
Oh yeah.
Fear. This is what really happened. Who says? God said so. God said so. So it has to be right. And if you don't think that way, because religion uses fear intentionally to bring you in, and so you spit out what you were told, especially when you start learning it when you're 5, 6, 7 years old and you're scared.
Oh yeah.
And you live in the house, and maybe it's just your mother who says, what you learn in Sunday school, that's the truth. That's the word of what? God.
Right.
Yeah. And then so scientific things are not coming from God, they're coming from man. And God created man. It's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle, and that is why we are constantly at war with each other. Mm-hmm. I don't even necessarily mean it like with guns and knives and swords.
No, like with ourselves.
Conflicts,
right?
yes.
Conflicts.
Yeah. And I don't know. We have 6,000 years of this stuff of recorded stuff.
Right.
More, of course, and it hasn't been resolved.
Yeah,
it'll never be resolved.
It can't be resolved if people are looking to develop either a caste system from it or hierarchy from it, right? Because that's what we have. We have either, in certain parts of the world, you have a caste system that's created to, let people know their place, and then, or you have these hierarchies when it comes to, what particular church organization you belong to, and they're all jockeying for the top spot.
Supremacy.
Supremacy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, being a Jew, the first caste system that I learned about was the Jewish caste systems. There's 3 kinds of Jews. There's the Cohen, the high priest.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fewest of all Jews. You know that when you hear the name Khan, Cohen, those are Cohen. They are descendants of the Cohens. They're of the high priest. Then you have the Levites, and they're the middle ground. And then the Israelites,
Mm-hmm.
the lower rung,
Mm-hmm.
the slaves,
Mm-hmm.
the slaves of Israel. The first caste system I learned about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did they say, hey, Mark, this is the caste system?
No.
Of course not.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Cohen, the Levites, and the Israelites. And the vast majority are Israelites, like I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, when you process that as an adult, your first reaction it isn't, who do those people think they are? Like, you don't develop that kind of understanding. Like, okay, your last name is Cohen. Okay, who are these people, and how did they get the job?
How did they become the high priest?
Yeah, how did they get the job?
And what I was taught was it's just handed down.
Right.
It's just handed down. Period.
Right.
That I mean, I never asked the question, but
Uh-huh.
but as you sit there in the class and the years go by, it just handed down. You
Yeah.
didn't have to do anything to remain a Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
You just had to be like your great grandpa had to be a Cohen.
And so, do you find that group of people receive preferential treatment throughout their lives as a result of that lineage?
Well, history dictates that they did. Thousands of years ago,
Mhm.
they got the best seats in the temple. They didn't have to work hard physical jobs. So they did get preferential treatment. Now, how long did that go on for? Until we were kicked out. Then you get scattered and then you gather again, and depending, I guess, on where they were. And we're talking about going back very far.
Right.
The first of the Judeo-Christian thoughts and, ideologies, and that's what we started with.
Mm.
And, like I said, in the Judeo-Christian way of thinking. I mean,
Why do you think that there's this dislike for people from the community in around the world? I'm just saying around the world. I don't know.
are you
Specific.
referring to, you mean anti-Semitism?
Yeah, like not necessarily anti-Semitism, because I think Semitism is a language, right?
Yeah, but don't go there, because who I heard say, I'm not anti-Semite, and he started giving you the explanation you're starting with was Farrakhan. That's who he did it.
No, I'm just saying, like, when you read
I wasn't putting you in the same.
No. This is just a conversation. No, because when you read up on Semitism, right, you're like, all right, it's a language that's spoken by not just Jewish people, but people from even the Muslim community.
Absolutely, from the Middle East.
From the Middle East. So, I never really understood the anti-Semitism thing per se, just from that understanding. But I can see how, even though it's not just Jewish people, you are a part of that, and people can be anti-Semitic and include you, but not exclusive to you. That's the thing that I think people think is exclusive to people in the Jewish community, right?
I think that the vast majority don't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
That they just think it only pertains to people who are Jewish, and there's, depending on, for example, one of the most famous anti-Semitic people was Henry Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And Ford hated Jews because Ford professed to be a total pacifist, and he felt as though the Rothschilds, the Jews with money, perpetuated war to make more money. That was his, from what my understanding,
Mm-hmm.
was his singular reason for hating Jews.
Oh, wow.
And the statement he made, like in Nazi Germany, they got what they deserved. We told them to stop that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, depending on, but there's, there's anti-Semitism going way back. I mean, like Roosevelt, who people of my father's generation, there were many of them who thought that Roosevelt was actually a Jew. Roosevelt turned boats away with Jews, wouldn't let them in.
Yeah, I've heard that story.
It's not well, I shouldn't say it's not a story.
Oh,
It's
I mean,
a fact.
I'm just saying, like, for me, I've heard that story.
Yes, he
like,
did.
I don't know
He did.
how
I
else
mean,
to put that.
I mean, I'm sure he had political explanations that wouldn't sound anti-Semitic, and they controlled the banks. That, I think, is what has moved it along. And of course, the entertainment industry, very heavily Jewish. John Lennon said, the entertainment industry is an offshoot of Judaism. And I mean, he didn't say it to be a wise guy or nasty or in an anti-Semitic way. That's just the way he
That's
saw
just
it.
how he felt.
That's their manager was Jewish. Their music producer was Jewish. Their sound manager, they were all Jewish guys.
Why do you think that was the case, though? Why do you think they gravitated toward the music industry like that, or the entertainment industry? What was there that they identified with, you think? I mean, banking is one thing, you want to,
Well,
who doesn't want to control money and gold, right? But, and I don't know why they align with banking either.
Here's my explanation. I don't know it to be a fact. This is just what I have deducted over the years. It was one of the fields that we were allowed to go into.
Okay.
I mean, even my father's generation, and certainly the generation before him, Jews didn't get into medical school because they were the best jobs. So what did? We opened stores. We became the merchants, and then entertainment. We could get into and here's the thing.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I remember something, but I'll mention it. Go ahead.
Would you want? Go ahead, tell me.
No. I remember from this series that I enjoyed, Deadwood.
Oh, Deadwood, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that series, and the merchant was a Jewish guy.
Sure.
Yeah, and that was, like you said, that's what they allowed him to do in that show. And that's why I laughed, because I loved that show. I thought that show was amazing.
and now, being black, now you could say because black people had more talent in the talent industry, but that's one of the fields that black people, at least in the United States, could gravitate to make a good living. Maybe not as good a living as the white entertainer. Maybe not in the nicest places.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry about that.
Could you hear yourself?
No, I lost track of that. I'm sorry.
No,
At any rate, but it was a path of least resistance.
Right.
Now you had to have talent to be accepted.
Yeah.
And just like you had to be good with numbers if you were going into the banking industry.
It's so crazy to me, right, when you start to peel back the onion that's America or the world, and you start to see the contributions that black people had in society in the United States, around the world, and stuff like that, and not being able to paint your own picture or write your own narrative has been a part of I wouldn't just say a campaign of misinformation, because that's a part of the people's behavior who didn't necessarily want that information to be public. But when you start to understand what people did, it could cause other people to think that they could do it, and then that would in turn cause them to go and attempt to be the guy who creates the light bulb, or the guy who creates peanut butter and all these different things that people created, who were black, they made this concerted effort to suppress that information, and in turn, they give you, they make you believe that dancing and singing is what you're good at. And so by making that be the case and them widening the path, you go in that direction. Not saying because they didn't allow them in certain cases to really make real money. It was like surface money. You never really owned your product. So you made some money, you got a Cadillac or XYZ. And I look at that and I think that was intentional.
Intentional, you mean from the white man?
Sure.
Absolutely. Look, there's only two places to blame. I could say your people didn't do a good enough job of explaining to the entire country how many brilliant people were scientists. You hear a name here and there, I think Carver.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many. As recently as when the space thing began, the black women who did all that complex mathematics with what is now a $1.99 calculator to put people on, they wouldn't let you know that that's who was doing it.
Right.
They showed you faces of these guys. Oh yeah, he graduated from MIT. Yeah, he did, but he had nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
he was their boss.
Yeah, and not only that. I mean, these schools grow in how great they are, right? Like Harvard doesn't start out as the Harvard it is today. It could have been a little school in fucking in this plaza. Everything grows into what we have today. But when I think about the time before me and people my age and their understanding of how or what black people were good at or could do and so on and so forth, you have to understand that whether people believe it or not, that there's an unseen hand that causes people to move in certain directions, right? And I'm not a big conspiracy guy. I'm just saying that those things are just true about our society, about our history as a country, right?
It's obviously true.
Yeah, it's obviously true.
I mean, maybe it wasn't obvious when it was happening.
Yeah.
But it's obvious.
Yeah, when you look back in the idea that you can pull yourself up by the bootstrap, that still makes me laugh, right? When I hear that, and I'm saying, well, first you got to get boots. Right? Then you got to get some straps. And not only that, it's like someone saying to me that, it's a race, right? And we all get a chance to start at the starting line. And I'm thinking to myself, I race to the starting line.
To get started. Right.
And you're gone. And that's the fairness that you think that exists. I rarely try to paint a picture of being disenfranchised or left behind or any of that stuff. You become conscious of the stuff that you need to know about how life works. Put your head down and you handle your business. And I think that that's all you really can control. And you let people know who you deal with, that you have a certain level of understanding, and that understanding doesn't have to conflict with your relationship with them, right? I think that meaning you can be conscious of the fact that say white guys or white people or so on and so forth had a contribution to people who look like you not being able to start at ground zero and going up, and you're starting beneath that. But you can also deal with them on a human level with that kind of understanding of how you were treated previously, but now it's not like you're saying, I don't know that or understand that. I carry that with me, but I'm still capable of moving forward and having just a regular relationship with someone else on a human level. And that's how I try to present, myself to the world. Having that knowledge, understanding, what happened to you as a human being previously or the people who look like you, but also being conscious of the fact that, the person sitting next to me or the person that I'm dealing with is not that person, and you have to let them show you who they are. That's what I think is important when we're dealing with people. You have to give people an opportunity to show you who they are,
Well said. So, as Edison was getting older, the first guy he went to run his lab
Mm-hmm.
was Carver. Carver was at the Tuskegee Institute.
Yeah.
He was making $2,500 a year, decent salary.
Yeah, that sounds yeah.
And from what I have read, Edison offered him $100,000 a year, which was like an enormous amount of money, and he turned it down.
$100,000.
$100,000 each. No, I'm good here. I'm good here. You still hanging with that guy Ford? Yeah, he's my neighbor. He's my best friend. Yeah, I'm good here. It's an enormous amount of money. I mean, think about that.
Could you see a scenario where you were presented with something financially life-changing and you turn it down?
Can I? I would have to think about that. Nothing zipped into my head immediately. There are things that I could not do, no matter, even if I knew like I wouldn't get caught. Like I don't know if I could. I couldn't kill just anybody,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how much. Even knowing like you're not going to get in any trouble. I couldn't just now. There are people that I would pay you if you let me kill them, but
Really?
that probably not. But I was just trying to make a point.
Right.
But yeah, there's things I probably wouldn't. But to do science, I mean, to do the same exact work or with better equipment that he was already utilizing, no, that I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine. I mean, Edison had the best stuff money could buy to continue to do his experiments. And I cannot believe that, in a traditionally black college, especially back then, that there would be nearly the funds.
Oh,
There.
yeah.
Not even in the ballpark.
Right. Why do you think that they still, to this day, underfund inner city schools and stuff like that? Why do you think they continue that? Even though the cat's out the bag and people know it. And is it just the tax base, or why do you think they continue to behave like that with education, knowing that is the one thing that changes everything, right?
You just answered the question.
Yeah,
You answered the question.
It seems crazy, but I guess so. If an educated society is a better society, they know this for a fact. You would think that everything they do to try to combat crime and all the ills in the country would be poured into education.
Educate the people. That's why this is such a violent society. And this stuff like these mass killings in the malls and schools, this is the only place that it takes place in. This doesn't happen in Europe. This doesn't happen in Asia. Well, maybe in Asia they can quell it better than us. I'm not saying there aren't atrocities, but certainly, I mean, in the comparison to the most people who live in America are of European descent, most, this is the only place. And because education, people are scared.
Yeah.
They're scared. Let's face it, the average person is scared. There's enough competition. They don't want more. And the politicians know that. It's when you put it like, and here we are in 2025, it's hard to even, I mean, just years ago you could say, well, the reason he didn't is because why should we pour money into a peoples that are inferior? Obviously, what we've just been talking about.
I know.
That's not. It's
that
obvious.
was the sentiment years ago, right? For
but
sure.
yeah, but even the most moronic people know that that isn't the case anymore.
Gosh.
Oh, well, okay, maybe that was.
I don't know.
But okay, no. Of course, people still think it. Lots of people still think it, but those aren't the people that are handling the funds. They may hate, but they understand that they have been taught the truth,
Mm-hmm.
and still it happens. And sadly, I think it's going to continue to happen.
Oh yeah, this is
Because we're a scared nation running downhill, no brakes.
yeah, I agree.
Take care of your own and yourself.
That's the plan.
Try
man.
not to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
And as long as they're not hurting you or yours, do your best. That's it.
That's all we have at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
you would think. I have had that kind of conversation with, like, the answer's easy. Educate. They don't do it. My cousin, my first cousin David, he teaches in the inner city in DC. All his students are black and Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And he teaches music. He was on Broadway, he was a musical director, and he has a really, really difficult time. And this is with music, this isn't math and science.
Right.
He has a rough time getting across to the kids. He really does. It's very frustrating to him.
Yeah, that could be frustrating when you.
And this is where I was thinking. And he says, if you see what I have to work with compared to, the areas that don't have the inner city kids, it's like, how can you do this? They're 12-year-old kids, and they're 12-year-old kids.
Right.
How can there be such a discrepancy in the books and the material and the desks, and yet it's there?
In 25.
Yeah, in 25.
These numbers don't matter, man.
They don't
I've been
care.
hearing this stuff. I've been hearing those numbers
Forever.
since I was a little kid.
Since you were a
I
little
can't
one.
believe it. It's 1985. And we're still behaving like this. And then you get to 95. I can't believe it. It's the year 2005. And we're still, and now it's 25 and we're still in that same space.
It could be argued that it's way worse than it ever was.
Yeah. And that surprises me to no end, man, to be honest with you. You would think that we understand that most of the shit that we deal with is just learned behavior, and all it is teaching different, because that's all it is. It's just learned behavior. And if you want people to circle back around and come back together as human beings, you just need to teach them different. And at the end of the day, it's just learned behavior. Yeah. Well,
It's all learned behavior.
I gotta get
Yes, you do.
back to work. They out here looking in the windows.
Are they really?
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want people to say, like, I like what those guys are talking about.
We'll
It's
put a speaker out
It's
there.
not easy stuff, but